Hello, Janelle. How are you?
Hi, Eva. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so happy to see you.
Likewise. I'm so happy to have you here. Because it feels very special to me, and like knowing you from from our meetings in Montreal in the dance scene, and now having you here in
hmm
my new podcast about embodiment. It feels very special. Very special.
hmm Thank you so much for having me. It's like an honor to be the first of your podcast guests.
Yes, you're my first guest, so
Yeah.
lots of magic. Um, I think what I want to just share for the people who are listening, the intention of this podcast, like why I decided to basically start this podcast, is because of my own journey with embodiment, and because right now I'm very much transition, or like mostly transition from the performing dance world into
hmm
like somatic and embodiment practices, where I still use the movements and the body, but more into for a healing purpose than for like performing or necessarily the arts. But I still see that it's very much um, goes hand in hand. Like I do see that even when I was dancing, there was moments when the dance was literally healing me. Um,
Mm.
and so I do say, like I like to say still till today, that dance is my medicine, and that my relationship with dance has changed and evolved as much as I like kept going on my journey. And the reason now I decided to start this podcast is because I was reflecting on how important for me was this journey of a dancer, and how actually me working with my body so intensively brought me to where I'm today, where I'm really using the movement in a very different way for healing, and for healing of many different things, including trauma. um, and this podcast for me is like, the intention is to talk to people who live their life in an embodied way.
Mm.
And even the word embodiment is, for some people, very new. They might be,
hmm
still thinking like, what is embodiment? But for
Mm.
me, it's becoming more and more, at least that's how I see it, clear that actually in our life, like as we evolve, anything that we learn and we don't embody, meaning we don't like, um, we are not able to fully feel it in our whole system, and
hmm
we kind of live more in the headspace, so we kind of
hmm
disconnect it from the body, then we're not fully present. I feel like we're not
hmm
fully present, and I see the importance of healing through reconnecting with the body. Um, and something I was very curious is about people like you, who are every day constantly in the relationship with the body. And I know also
mm
you do therapy. Like I know you also are coach. You do so many other things than just
hmm
dancing. Like you're very multi-diverse, which
mm
I love. But you're very embodied for me. You're like a
Aw.
very embodied person.
Thank you. That's like the highest compliment.
Oh, yeah. So it's for me, it's almost like also, as I'm gonna be asking you a question, but before I start asking you a question, I would love you to just introduce yourself, maybe what currently you are like very passionate about, what is your
Yeah.
main focuses, and also maybe if you have something coming up that you want to talk about, just shortly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we're gonna go into the questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for having me once again. Yeah, so I'm still in the professional dance field. I'm still working full time in that, and coaching in embodiment, somatic practices, like you had said.
Mhm.
So a contemporary dancer, choreographer. I'm actually going back to my first love of acting as well, just because I
Mhm.
think that this is an expressive art form that I can do for a long extended period of time. I'm 40, so I'm thinking more about, how can I be in in the arts? How can I also be kind to my body, and take care of myself as I age.
Mhm.
So, and what might that look like? So I'm actually questioning a lot about, where does dance sit in my life for the next 5, 10, 20 years as well.
Mhm.
I haven't made that transition fully into the coaching aspect, although I feel my guides always sort of knocking at my door, like, are we ready? Are we going to do it now?
Mhm.
So yeah, so I would say I still identify mainly as a professional dance artist, teacher,
Mhm.
and my passion, it's not a secret, but I have this, side love, this parallel career that I'm nurturing. That's
Mhm.
very much the embodiment sessions. I designed 3 different workshops. One of them is called Texture of Emotions, and I've done that for both non-professionals and professional dancers. And that's very much integrating your voice, body in deepening and broadening your expression, self-expression through
Mhm.
games. So it's really light, it's really playful.
Mhm.
I like to call them less exercises and more games. Like, okay, next game. So that we bring play back into uh, the adult life. I feel like we're not playing enough. Um,
Mhm.
and so, and then I also designed this other workshop called Conscious Connecting. And
Mhm.
that's really about connecting intimately with another, be it your romantic
Mhm.
partner, your sister, your parent. And it's movement based. All of these are movement based, body based. Um, that's about intentional connection. I like to call it date night. So we're
Mhm.
having a date night, with our significant other,
Mhm.
but through play, through community as well. So this isn't just, me guiding 2 people. It's really about community. And then embodiment sessions is something I started during the pandemic, and that was really
Mhm.
just unlocking daily movement practices for the everyday person. So taking our knowledge of dance that I feel like as dancers we've really taken for granted,
Mhm.
and filtering that through and seeing what are these tools that we have that we can share with just the everyday person. Because my passion, I guess, in short, would be that everyone would have a movement practice, that everyone would appreciate dance like they have um, a nighttime ritual, brushing your teeth,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
that they would be interested in dance like everyone has their favorite music group. So, that it's just sort of movement is so deeply integrated into our daily lives in a fun, very easy, lighthearted way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. I resonate so much about, the because sometimes I feel like I need to do exercises and I'm like thinking about, okay, I should do this and that and then like go to the gym and then like sometimes I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I just put on music and I dance for 45 minutes
Yeah.
and that's the best. And I feel energies moving through my body, emotions are moving, I get workout, I get the cardio and I feel happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there's like that pleasure in it,
Mhm.
there's that discovery in it. And I feel it's less goal oriented, it's more experiential. Like it's just being in the moment now with no sort of, oh, I accomplished this. Not that those are bad things, but I think in our society we are so um our idol is productivity.
Mhm.
We idolize it. That's our God in this society.
Yeah.
And without productivity, what are we? And I had this sort of awakening during the pandemic, and even before that, actually, but it deepened more during the pause, the great pause,
Mhm.
um, that what am I if I'm not working? What am I if I'm not doing? What am I if I'm not producing? What am I if I'm not
Mhm.
performing? And I really felt like God, spirit, whoever you choose to identify with, I really felt an impression that it was like your purpose is to be. And I would, it's just being, you know, why is nature so beautiful? Because it is. It's not striving. It's not, it does produce in a way, but it's just beautiful because it is, it exists. And so
Yeah.
I was really trying to allow myself to not work and to allow myself to enjoy being. And now I can confidently say it's impossible for me to be bored.
Mhm.
Like I just love just sitting and being. It's
Ah.
wonderful to me, this slowing down. And it to me it feels like this I don't want to say resistance. There's another word, but it is countercultural in a very healthy way. Like
Mhm.
I feel like it's resistance to like the man, to patriarchy, to just be, like just to enjoy and have pleasure and to play, like you said, like just to dance and there's nothing accomplished, but everything is better somehow because you are with yourself. You are in the present moment in your body. And I think it is the journey to like self-liberation, you know? We used to always be like, okay, well, I'm on this self-help program or like self-love program. And I'm like, more liberation, just more freedom, more liberation, more
No.
beingness.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so wonderful. Like, and I love that you call the pandemic the great pose. That's like the first time I hear it, and I'm like, that resonates so much.
Hmm.
And for me, actually, that was the moment, I felt like the pandemic was kind of like I was driving two horses. One was like I was in the dance performing world on one horse, and the second one was like the spiritual world, I like all the things that I was doing with my body, but more spiritual wise. And it was all more about going inwards, going into like, okay, what am I if I actually don't have to do anything to prove that I'm worthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Worthiness.
Hmm.
Yeah. There is something about that proving, right? It's like, are you the
Hmm.
best? Are you number one? Can you be an A plus student? Like all this, like go.
Yeah.
And this, not that it's a bad thing. I think there's room for that. But there's just, and I think that's why I bring up the patriarchy. It's like there's this sort of like um, engine, this force, and it's very, and not masculine and like the I think we all have the masculine feminine in us, but it's so solar, it's so forceful, and it's almost too much so that we're sick because we're just, I mean, when I started embodiment sessions, I was attracting a lot of people who were suffering from burnout. Why?
Mm.
Why at 20 whatever or 30 whatever you're burning out? Why is that even a thing? And it's become normalized. Burnout, anxiety, these things are like, oh yeah, my anxiety. Oh yeah, my anxiety. What? Anxiety was like really a serious thing when I was a kid. No one had, it was really rare and people were treated for it. And now it's just sort of normalized, like we all have it. Oh yeah, I'm on the verge of burnout. And it's almost like a pat on the back, like you've worked so hard. And it's like, no, you are sick. That is
Mm.
actually very sad. And we need to address this. And I think the work that you're doing and the work that I'm doing is sort of let's dismantle that and let's normalize rest and pause and play and beauty and silliness and pleasure and the body. So yeah, I think the great pause brought some good things, um, depending on how you frame reframe it.
No, definitely. Like it's always, I would even say, like in our life, when we go through a crisis or anything, there's always a positive that comes out of it. If you decide to look for it, it's always there.
Yeah.
Um, and what comes to me with now, like bringing it to the body, is like literally when I work with people, the first thing I tell them, let's leave the stories aside, let's leave the past and the future aside, and let's just be in the body, because the body lives
Mm-hmm.
only in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
with anxiety, what you say that and that there is this like unhealthy, it's almost like this goal setting. It's like always projecting you in the future, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like I'm not able to be fully present and to fully relax my nervous system, because there's
Yeah.
always this constant need of like thinking about the next step, the next. And then the default of this is also like, oh, I'm projecting myself into the future because I'm worried about the past, because something
Yeah.
there happened, and it's constant, like either there or there. And the body lives in the now. And
Yeah.
so for us to be present, like I almost found embodiment in some ways more powerful than meditation. Although I feel like meditation is essential, yet I feel like through embodiment or like somatic practices, we can enter into a meditative state
Yeah.
quite fast or faster. And it's
Yeah.
more real because we're really like sensing, we're like sensing the
Mm-hmm.
body, right? And the body is like the sensations are right now happening. They're not happening in the past or in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of that listening, it's listening, right? It's like listening to the body and listening to the now. And if you listen to your body, even now, I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, okay, my hip is telling me something and it's on my right side. I'm curious about that. And, you know, all of our past um, traumas or worries or memories is in our cells. It's in our body. It's in our muscles. She's speaking to me right now. And so if I have to address the past, why don't I do it through my body in the present right now? You know, healing is now. It's not, oh yeah, when I accomplish this or when I make this much or whatever, like I'll be happy. It's like, no, no, it's like peace is now, presence is now, everything is now, the body is now. And that's the only thing we have guaranteed. And so, I mean, and I'm human, right? Like I think during this transition, because I just worked 8 months on a ship and now I'm transitioning home. I really was like, okay, I'm gonna get home and I'm gonna like unpack and I'm gonna clean, blah, blah, blah. And I started like this frenzy and I wasn't in the present. I was very much in the future. Once this is done, once this is done, once I've blah, 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 then I can rest. And instead of just like, okay, can this unpacking, can this cleaning, can this organizing be in a way meditative? Can this be part of my embodiment practice? Can I like hear the boxes open? Can I feel the tissues that I'm, like having it a sensory, sensual thing? I'm sure that would have just brought way more peace than me just being like, I have to accomplish. And that's just, it's my conditioning. It's all of our conditionings. I'm not past that. I'm in the process of dismantling that, and recreating a new thing. Um, and it's so good that we have each other and we have communities like this because you feel less alone. Like I think one of the things is that when your environment is a certain way and you're trying not to be like that, it feels impossible. So
Mm.
when you can gather like we are right now, and when you do when with your retreats, then we're like, oh wait, no, we are making a new normal, and I'm not alone, and this is what it can feel like to be in a healthy society. You know, um, we can reimagine a healthier society when we're actually together in this.
I love that. Yeah, I love what you said. I do feel like it is a movement. Like For me,
Yeah.
it's like embodiment
Yeah.
is a movement, and this like just like bringing the knowledge about it, like just become more aware that it's even something that exists. And I think what you said, this like a little bit like the society being driven in a patriarchal way, what comes to me, it's like it's almost this like from the industrial time, when like, or like
Mm.
when we go back to like I think therefore I am,
Descartes.
something there. It's like that kind of sent us, because this is just the western
Yeah.
like society, mostly, right? Like, because when
hmm
like, right now I'm in Thailand, they have a very different rhythm, they have a very different relationship to their body, they have a very different even notion of time,
Mm.
and how they relate, to, yeah, how they relate, how they live. Uh,
Mm.
and so I really see this, like we're so in our heads, and it's
Yeah.
so much about like these concepts, these ideas, but again, like it feels like for a long time it's been, and that's a bit the masculine, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the which is a very important force, the one that like structure, organize, go, like the
Yes.
warrior. Yet if it's just that, then as you said, like burnout is the first thing that happens.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like we keep going a direction, and then we kind of lost it. We're like, wait, why did we go here? Because we didn't
Yeah.
even have the time to pause and be like, are we still going the right way? Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Where are we going? Are we just spinning, in that wheel? Just just spinning in this wheel and going absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I were to just dance, I might not go anywhere, but I'm having a heck of a time while I'm like doing it. And I think a lot about because my partner, he's a psychiatrist and he talks,
Mhm.
he shares with me what's happening with his patients. And there's just so much, there's so much depression, there's so much mental health issues happening. And
Mhm.
it's interesting you bring up the mind. Why is there mental health issues? Is it because we actually need to like bring it down into here? Do we need to listen more into the heart? Do we need to like embrace like our bellies more? Do we need to, actually be here, like let go of this sort of brain driving everything? And can we have other parts guide us, Can you listen to that
Hard,
ache in the shoulder? Yeah, the heart.
hard. Mm.
Yeah. And yeah, I think, therefore I am. There's something that you said. Oh, it reminds me of when I went a long time ago. I was 19 years old. I went to South Africa and I learned about Ubuntu. And Ubuntu in South Africa is really about I am because we are. It's very communal. It's very circular. It's very holistic. It's not sort of like I think therefore I am. I'm by myself on this island. I'm in this sort of like isolation that is its own like pandemic, I guess, right now. Um, it's really I am because we are, and that could not only be between us and people, but us and animals, us and plants, us and air and water, and it's sort of more holistic in a way. And I really hope and pray that we continue to just embrace these other worldviews rather than stick with this egoistic or ego-centered Western thinking of, and that again, colonialism. Like it's just like we are superior because no, no, no. It's hello, hello. There are other ways of thinking. There are other ways of being, and we can embrace that
Mm.
and celebrate it, and maybe adapt that into our own cultures, which I think is like why you're there, in Thailand. You're really doing the thing. And you were in Mexico as well. You're really sort of, taking information and learning from others and letting that inform your practice, which is really inspiring, really, really cool.
Mm. Mm.
Hmm.
Thank you. I love what you just shared. Like this, because we are, oh my God, that's like, yes, yes, please, let's go back. Let's remember that because that's so essential. And that also reminds me of like the importance of community. And again, like our bodies are, they're energetically interconnected. It's almost like there is literally a study, which I was watching this documentary. And even the fact that we never put our bare feet on the earth. Like I know that some people in their entire life has never touched with their feet, their bare feet, the earth. How disconnected is that? And like there's been study that like the earth literally gives us grounding, meaning like electromagnetic field, and it's
Yeah,
important for our health. So everything is interconnected, right? So if
yeah,
we start to isolate ourselves, like that's where I would say the sickness begins, where that's where
yeah,
the issues begins.
yeah,
And you also shared something about yeah, what also kind of makes me reflect on, like, I feel very grateful for dance as being my background, because I feel like I was always with other fellow dancers. Like it's just like a thing, right? Like we are
hmm,
in the studio together and we work on something together, and we communicate through a movement. So it's of course we chat, but like there is this like other connection, and it's almost
mm,
like now I feel like, yes, like I was sort of having a community, while
yeah,
maybe other people then never experience that, if they're like going and getting a PhD in I don't know what, like it might be very
hmm,
lonely, like they're just like studying all the time and then they in their
hmm,
office. And so it's like that I'm very grateful. And you mentioned the traveling, and like kind of I also have this sense of like I almost feel the need of starting to like have borderless uh, like view of the world. Like, what are these
hmm,
borders? Like, we're all just
mm,
human beings living on this earth. And yes, we have a differences. Yes, we are special and unique in our own ways. Yet, like this labeling, and this separation by these borders, like literally, what is it? Like it's a virtual line.
yeah,
It's that people decide that they're gonna split, and that there is Thailand and here is Laos, but like
yeah,
these people before, some of them live together. So it's like it's all just decisions that we've made. And I just feel like with this interconnecting, this like coming back to the body, coming back to the earth, coming back to a little bit what our ancestors were doing, is like
right,
it's like it doesn't matter, because we are beings, we're human beings living on earth, and the earth is interconnected. And so what I do
hmm,
here will affect in a way
hmm,
somebody who lives in Canada, because like
hmm,
everything is like the effect, was it called, the butterfly effect, I think.
hmm, hmm,
um, and like I actually so I come from Czech Republic, but
hmm,
I was forced to leave when I was 14 to pursue dance, because in my country at that time, like the dance wasn't so evolved, let's say. Like my parents, they wanted me to go study abroad, which I'm really happy. But then I actually never stopped. I just like kept traveling. At the beginning was for the dance. And then now I keep just traveling because I just hear calling, and it's almost like
hmm,
I'm reflecting what it is actually, but it's almost like just listening where my body wants to go again.
hmm,
And I'm so grateful for this, because I don't feel rooted in any culture. So when I go to Mexico, I can become Mexican. And when I go to Thailand, and I respect all these like culture,
hmm,
their their habits and their like the way how they are, like I respect. And also I, if it's too much, like I also feel like, okay, I will not do this because this is like this is too much, that goes against my belief, you know. So it's almost like
Mm-hmm.
also I kind of walked, and like if I'm in Thailand, yes, like for example here you should not be showing your shoulders, and there's like a whole thing about like how women should be covered and all that. But um and I respect it to a point, but then from a point I also feel like no, women should not be covered. That's the
Mm,
old, it just doesn't really serve anymore, right? Like that's an
mm,
old etiquette, and we are now in 2024, soon 25. So things are also evolving. But it's very interesting for me to be like going from culture to culture, and then in the end, what I'm realizing. Language is not that important. It's just really again this body language, and you know when somebody approaches you with an open heart, and
yeah,
that's again coming back to like being human
yeah,
is so much more than just talking and being in the head and being a
yeah,
culture and being a label.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, you feel when there's a connection.
yeah,
You feel someone's um, electromagnetic field coming from their heart. You know, you feel there, and it's so true. And the more I think, the more you practice and refine your listening skills through these exercises, these practices, embodiment, somatic listening to yourself, the more you can recognize it in others, the more you know, oh, we're vibing. We're really like I can you're you know, you're in a place where we get each other. And you might be a complete stranger, but there's a beautiful connection because maybe they're doing their work. Maybe they have a similar aura about them. Maybe they're also doing, the deep listening. Um, you can like it's really interesting. And it transcends borders. I love this idea. I love this name, borderless being. That feels like such like maybe your magazine or something. Like it's just like you need to keep that because that is so cool. I love that. Because in the end, we are just human. Like there's more similarities to all of us than differences. And if we knew and appreciated that, then maybe we wouldn't have so much violence and greed and hatred and separation. We might actually have what, all the great movies are about, which is like this love and this togetherness. I'm an idealist, but I'm always sort of like, okay, we can do it, guys. Let's
I think
jump on
it's
board.
important.
Come on.
Yeah, yeah, it's important to keep that spirit. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay. I'm gonna look at some of the questions that I prepared. Maybe we're not gonna do all of them,
Yeah,
but
that's
maybe I'm
fine.
just gonna pick one or two or three. Um, hmm. I feel like we talked a lot about the first question.
Hmm.
Hmm. Actually, we kind of answered some of them already. But this one, I feel like it would be nice for me to ask you. So,
Okay.
Janelle, can you share the story of how embodiment found its way into your life? Was there like a specific experience or turning point that connected you to this practice?
Yeah, that's a really good question. As a child, I always danced. And I was in the expressive arts. I loved acting. I thought I was going to become a comedian and then like go into acting and then become a movie star. That still might happen. Um, and yeah, I think there's not one thing. There's little pillars now looking back in hindsight that sort of led me to it. Um, After I came back from South Africa, so when I was around 19, 20, I tore my ACL. And I was not able to fully express myself through my body for about a year. And then once I got the surgery done and I figured out what was going on, then I went through physiotherapy for it. So there was a stint where I felt like I was almost in a very dark place because I couldn't move my body the way I felt like I wanted to, sort of like I was trapped, or I was so limited. And it was really dark. I remember this one moment where I was laying in my bed and my knee was really swollen, and I was crying, and I made a vow. I said, once I get out of this, I will do everything in my power to move in any way I can. And it was sort of like a declaration. I think it was my first sort of like movement is life for me. This is part of my purpose. And then my best friend asked me, what are the three words that guide you through life? And I thought about it, and to this day, this was 20 years ago, to this day, it remains the same. And the three are love, joy, and motion. And I think that dark time really solidified to me that I need to move and as in any way possible. So when I got well and strong, I was swimming, I was doing yoga, I was dancing while playing djembe, I was walking, I was cycling, I really tried to just like, what is movement and can I just like fill myself up with it. And this is before I became a professional dancer because I came to dance so late in life for a dancer. So then that's how I fell into dance, where I was just like, well, I just need to move. And so, like, I don't know. And at 23, I skipped acting school and I just auditioned for a school and didn't make it. And the next year, I didn't make it. It took me 3 auditions to make it into a professional school. It was very much will over talent. But I just did it. And so that was one thing. And I think the next thing was the pause, um, where I was going through a divorce at the same time. And I had to sit a lot with my shame and a lot with disappointment and really hard feelings. Um, I had lost my mom prior to that, and dance was really a balm. So I knew that dance was always a healing agent for me. But I think it was for embodiment, I think it was the pandemic that was just like, what am I doing and why am I dancing? And how can I dig into this more? And I ended up taking a full year, very intensive somatic coaching program through Art of Alignment. My teacher, my mentor is Anne Marie Duchesne, and that year transformed me. We got into somatics, we got into meditation, we dove in deep into holding space, listening, somatic processing. And that's where I really experienced what it means to process emotion through my body and to embrace emotion. I think I can't talk about embodiment without talking about emotions. And emotions and the body, they're just two sides of the same coin for me. To be in my body is to embrace every feeling, every emotion, every sensation, be it light or dark or somewhere bizarre in the middle, and to really hold space, to sit in the uncomfortableness of my shame, of my feeling of unworthiness. All of that brought me to places of inner child work, shadow work. It sort of was like this launch pad into a new level of self-discovery and self-liberation. And so now it's like, I have this one book, The Language of Emotions. It's right here. And it really is about listening to everything without judgment and letting it be the messenger, letting it be a friend. My teacher, Anne Marie, talks about having tea with different sides of yourself. Like just, and it's not inside, it's really just like, hey, I'm going to sit and I'm going to take this, maybe jealousy, and we're just going to have tea, and it's outside of me, we're facing each other, and we're having warm tea together, and we're getting to know each other. And I think that was sort of the like it clicked in how important embodiment practices are. And then I just sort of was so convinced. Like I was like, oh, this is the thing now. Sort of like you from dance, this progression into the healing side of movement. Because we both know the detrimental side of of traditional dance training. So to go into a more holistic and self-compassionate way of moving and being with self, um, I would have to say came through my training with Anne Marie, came through the pause, came through dealing and facing myself through divorce and really going through forgiveness. And yeah, I had to be so honest and transparent with myself and just sit with my ugly self. And one of the most beautiful images that she gave me, did she give it to me? I think she gave it to me. Somehow, this image of this bowl, this kintsugi, the Japanese practice of bringing broken parts together with gold, and that's what makes it so beautiful. That really came forth, and I feel like my embodiment practices is like creating a kintsugi bowl for me. Like I now see my imperfections as gold. Like I now see these awful, ugly sides that I used to just like stuff down or just deny. I'm like, nope, that's me. And I think that's what makes it. I find myself more interesting because of it. And I find people more interesting when they're just so accepting of all sides. So yeah, I would say the Great Pause was like the stamp. Um, mhm.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Wow. Yeah. What a journey. And like I love what you said about these broken pieces like put together with gold. I think I'm gonna keep this image now, and I'm gonna take it from you and be like, wow, that's so true. It's just to the point, like it hits the nail.
Yeah.
Because I think, when I work with people and like with myself too on my own journey, is that in these spaces of pain, this thing that we try to shovel down or put them aside instead of having a tea with them, there actually lies beneath our genius.
Mm,
Usually it's like there is the gift. And so it's almost like I feel like we come to this world to go through certain lessons, and our body is like the vessel that talks to us all the time, like, hey, like you haven't
yeah.
dealt with that one, you haven't. And it just kind of keeps storing it, and it's energetic. But
Yes.
when we actually invite the shadow to come here and be like, hey friend, what are you trying to tell me? Because they're just trying to help. Like
Yeah.
everything is just trying to help in the way, in the end. And then like behind that lies this like golden, yeah, this golden grain of like,
Mm,
right, like now I can integrate this part inside of me, and now I'm
mm,
richer because now I become even more whole, and now I can actually feel more of myself, right? So it's like becoming more and more whole, holistic, coming back to
Mm,
wholeness by like kind of inviting all these broken pieces into this incredible bowl.
yeah.
So I love that. I love what you said. And it's incredible that you started so late. And like I know you as a dancer, and you're incredible. So I'm like, wow. Yeah, that's so inspiring. It's very inspiring.
I
So
think that's like the set.
I feel like you will become actually the famous actress.
You think so? I'm really hoping. That'd be really
I
great.
feel like I will talk in 10 years and you're gonna be like, I'm gonna be like shy to talk to. I'll be like, wow. Because I
No,
feel like
you'll be my personal embodiment guide. I'll be like, Eva, I've got this audition and I just need some guidance. I need to move.
I love that. I love that. You bring me to your team and we do like some practices in the, the behind the scene when when you
Exactly.
waiting to go on the stage before, in front of the camera. We do some practices.
Exactly. Yes.
Love that. Thank you. I'm gonna give you, I think, one last question that
Yeah.
I felt to ask. Hmm. Okay. Actually, it's more of a practical question, but I think it would be interesting for people who are listening. If there would be like a one practice that is simple and that you feel
Mm,
like you want to share and just be like, this is what I love to do, and maybe for people who are listening, they could try it out, like something simple, something like something comes to
yeah.
your mind.
I found myself doing this yesterday automatically, and it's just self-soothing. A self-soothing practice that I really love is the sway, like just a gentle sway. Um, Sometimes I'll even like just like hold my heart or like give myself a hug and then gently sway. And I think it really brings us back to uh, infancy when we were held. And, we were talking about before uh, even our interview started, our mutual friend has a baby. And I'm trying to get to know the way he likes movement when he's upset. And I found out right now in this season of his life, he doesn't like the bounces. It's a little too much. He really likes the oscillation of the sway, like the waves. And so I've been doing that with myself sometimes. And it's not even when I'm sad. I'll just do it, because even within a normal day, uh, our nervous system could probably use some comfort and some peace and just in traffic or when I'm waiting in line. I don't necessarily have to hold myself, but I could just sort of sway and it really brings a lot of comfort to me. Um, I also really love self massage. So just like, and it doesn't have to be moving. It could just be like a squeeze, just a touch, having my heart move through my arms into my hands and then touch something so that, like, in a way, my heart's touching these things. I like to imagine that
Mm.
as something really cool. Um, And then if I'm just feeling a little anxious or something, I'm a shaker. I love to shake. Um, in my embodiment session, there's one session where we shake every part and then all parts, but we really start with one part of the body and then move to another part and we shake and then we play with the shake so that it maybe becomes a bounce or maybe becomes a bop and then bringing it back down. So really playing with the ranges of shakes. Um, yeah, I really just like shake it off. Uh, Riding my bike yesterday, I probably should have shook it off, but I was riding my bike and this one guy in a truck just like intimidated me and he just went like by me like roar and roared his and it was so scary. I was so intimidated. He roared his truck and it gave me like this anger and anxiety. I was just like, oh, like at that end, I was just like, what an asshole. And I was just like, ah, moving my anger through me. And I think this is a good time to just like shake him off, just
Mhm.
like, you're not allowed in my sacred, beautiful bubble of peace and joy. Like, no, there's a boundary there. And just like, whoa, like, bleh,
Mm,
I'll
yeah.
do that.
Oh, and I
So
love
the,
the voice, right? Like we
yeah, oh
we talked
yeah.
about a little bit too, like the voice. It's like part of the movements.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the voice is actually probably one of the harder ones. I feel like it's like the harder one to really allow yourself to vocalize. Like oh, another one I was sharing with my partner yesterday because he's like such a gentle person and I'm like, I wonder where your anger is. Like I would love to see like you just like lash out, you know? And I told him about the temper tantrum that I learned from Christine Hassler, a coach. And you really just like take a pillow and like you scream inside of the pillow and you punch the pillow when you're really feeling that anger. And you can even say, like, I'm angry about this. And like, I wish this was happening. And like, why not this? And you really allow yourself to have a childlike temper tantrum. And like, I will get into my pillow and just like, and like scream like Bloody Mary, like just like, and like let that inner like panther out and like through like just punching and screaming and unleashing it. And then later I feel light and just giggly and like fine. Just like kids do after their
Mhm.
temper tantrum. They're just like, cool, let's play. Or like, I want a lollipop. Like they're fine. So I'm like, that's also something that sounds so weird and maybe not simple, but very effective when you're dealing with anger and frustration and mhm.
Love it. Like you gave us like four little practices, and I love all of them. And yeah, like this childlike quality that you just mentioned, so important, right? Like I mean, for me, the we're like here trying to educate the children, and I feel often we should learn from them instead of like
Hello.
conditioning them.
Hello.
Yeah,
Exactly. They're closest to spirit. Like they were
yeah,
just there, maybe
yeah,
5 years ago.
yeah.
So they get it.
And they're still completely connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and they're full of play and wonder and energy and curiosity. Like up until maybe until they're conditioned, I love watching what is it, recess therapy on Instagram, where it's just he's interviewing kids and kids get it. There, there's the wisdom. They get it. They're not judging. They're really asking questions and they're curious, you know. And they're emotional and they allow themselves to be emotional until we condition them not to. But it's a beautiful, wild, precious thing. And that's what I believe what is like preserving kids' innocence. It's like let them be that. Like just make a safe space for them to be, you know, like we would ourselves. And that's the inner child work that like is now sort of making waves. In the healing arts too. So,
Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. I think we touched on many very important topics, and I think we really like we dance through we dance through many different things, and I yeah, really enjoyed listening to you, and yeah, it's honored to have you here because yeah, you were special. You have a lot
mm,
to share, and yeah, like more of this, more of this. Yeah, I see the importance, and
mm.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Janelle. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.